my experience as a woman living with, and me sharing my experiences at trying to get different services and care. But also get a chance to share my story and know you a little bit more better outside of
Yes, the work.
the work. And I think this is awesome that you have the opportunity to put a collective together of the different people experiences that are people living with HIV. But I think Black women, we also get put on the back burner on a lot of things. And I wanted to share that piece, but also bring awareness that we are here.
My name is Ashton Whitehead. Of course, I'm a Black woman. I have been working in the field for about 5+ years now. I have been living with HIV since I was 21 years old. When I was diagnosed when I was 21, I had a son. Unfortunately, he ended up getting PCP pneumonia, and he was in a hospital for 4 months. And unfortunately, he did pass away. Thought I had a relationship with the ID doctors there at that hospital. They told me the next time I decide to have more children, I would be able to go to them throughout my pregnancy. And mind you, I didn't know what it looks like to be living with HIV and pregnant.
Well, back in 2012, I was accused of non-disclosure while I was living in Grand Rapids, and I fought the case and I lost. And I was sentenced to 56 months, just 7 years.
How much of that time did you actually serve?
About 57 months. I've been undetectable since like 2008.
Since 2008. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And did you disclose your status to that person at the time?
No, I did not.
Yeah. But being undetectable, were you at any risk to him?
No.
Michigan enacted its HIV criminalization law in 1988, making it a crime to engage in sex without disclosing HIV status. Reforms in 2019 and 2023 recognized U equals U, but also reinforced a system that punishes those who aren't virally suppressed, creating an HIV viral underclass. Despite some progress, stigma and outdated enforcement continue to harm people living with HIV. HIV is not a crime.
HIV is not a crime. Hello. Well, we had 2 children. We met at work. Things just blossomed from there. I mean, she didn't want to commit.
Oh, why was that?
Well, first, he was a butt. So he actually was like, I don't want to get married, which was cool with me because I didn't want to get married. A lot of the representation of marriages that I saw growing up were not of healthy ones or any that I would want to commit to. So it wasn't a goal of mine. And then after my diagnosis, I was like, oh, what if for like a few months before, depression set in. And then after that, I was like, well, I'm going to die alone. So marriage is over. It's done. And I was prepared to be by myself for the rest of my life.
Oh, so you were diagnosed before you all were married?
Yes.
Okay. How did you handle your diagnosis?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I avoided it for a very long time. My husband actually has loved me through all of those stages of me coming to terms with it, coping, finding myself, loving myself, like losing life and kind of coming back to life, so to speak. You need to ask him that question. How did he cope?
Okay, Mr. Reed.
I'm from Detroit.
So tell us what made you interested in speaking to us today.
The legal system, because for quite some time it's been a point of emphasis with the legal system and HIV epidemic when it comes to people having sex. It's been a criminalized process in a lot of instances.
What made you want to get involved in HIV work?
Well, I was being served by different organizations and agencies and also individuals, and made my journey through this process much easier. And I felt like if I could speak to others about my journey and the things that I've experienced, that perhaps I could help someone make it through the process themselves in a much easier way, or give them some information that might ease their mind or their, some cases, their soul.
There you go. Now we know that, HIV is typically looked upon as a gay man's disease. We hear the term MSM a lot, men who sleep with men. Can you speak to that for us today?
Well, that was that's propagated by a lot of different people who are basically, I won't say uneducated, I would say naive to the real transmission of HIV. And that's because historically there was a emphasis on gay men, specifically white gay men, that first contracted the illness, but that quickly transfigured into something totally different. Because I myself, I'm, I identify as heterosexual, so I'm not a gay man, and I have HIV.
HIV is said to be a death sentence to a lot of people. I hear young kids say all the time, oh, if somebody gives me AIDS, I'm killing them, or, just making it more than what it is.
Yeah.
Being discriminated for having HIV has been really hard on my life. I've been to jail a few times where they would separate me from all of the population. I was in solitude for weeks, and I just remember 24-hour lockdown, 1 hour out just to eat. And you're just looking at everybody and they know, why did they have to do this to me?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of times where I didn't feel like I could be in the community. And
The most maybe traumatic thing that someone has said or done to you having HIV?
when I first learned about my status in 2010, the health department showed up to my home where I lived with a boyfriend.
Okay.
I wasn't there, and he called me frantic. And he said, there's only one reason the health department comes to somebody's house looking for them. And he said, you are disgusting, you're diseased. And he tried to kill me.
What do you mean he tried to kill you?
He grabbed me by my throat. He took me down a flight of stairs, beat me pretty bad. I got scars, took chunks of flesh out of me, chased me with a 40-ounce bottle of Steel Reserve down the street.
Because of your
Because
HIV
of my status.
What was the next step after that? Did you call the police? What happened?
The police showed up.
Mm-hmm.
They put him in custody, went through court proceedings, and they gave him 2 years probation. I had got a 5-year PPO on him. I ain't heard or seen from him since.
Now, do you know if he is a person living with HIV also?
I'm not sure at this time, but back then, no, he was not.
So you did not pass HIV on to him?
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, whoa. What you mean? You're just a unique case. You're just very unique. We would expect your viral load to go up somehow, but your viral load has maintained under 14 since 2005. And you should have bleeped somewhere, but I've never bleeped over 14 copies. That's how they record it. And from there, I was as what they call a long-term non-progressor. That's what they call people that do not, when a virus does not grow in your body. If that's the way easiest way I can put it. If it, does not, spread through your body, and as of now, being a part of different studies with the NIH, that particular study that's no longer funded.
Oh.
Man. So they take people living with, that are considered long-term non-progressors and see what it is in our genetic makeup to see what it is about our bodies that's able to suppress it on its own without the assistance of medication. Now, from there, you can be classified as an elite controller. And that's where I fall in the category of elite controllers.
Okay.
And at the time, Robin Scorpio, who was on there, she was pregnant and living with HIV due to behind the rape. So she was the only person I saw that was pregnant with HIV. I didn't even see no black women, but you got this white woman on the soap. I was like, no. Then Brian White stuck out to me, given the way he was treated. I was like, nope, terminate the pregnancy. He was like, you're positive pregnant. They gave me a folder of a list of different clinics. There was no soft handoff or anything. Bedside manner was just, if they were going by rating, they got an F++. And between him walking out the door and him delivering the news and walking out the door, this is when my twin sister told me all she remembers hearing a big curdling scream. She was like, you screamed for about a good 2 minutes. I was like, I guess I blocked that piece out. And that day of September 14th was the day that changed my life.
How's the baby turn out?
Oh, so right now, Anastasia she will be 19 next month.
All right.
She's HIV negative. And she is now a mother herself.
You're a grandmother.
I'm a grandmother, yes. Twice over. And she is now the current face, you would say, for the Detroit at Rise program. A few years ago, I found myself pregnant. We all get damn dirty. But it was with a guy I thought it was going to be different. And he's a person living with. So when I went to go seek reproductive assistance, I went to this one place and get all the way in the back. Fully undressed in my robe and everything. I already knew how far along I was. I don't know how to say. I already knew what it was. When she walked out the room, I just need her to verbalize it. But she's never been put in this situation, to my knowledge, because she don't even know the language to use to even, skate by what a possible discrimination suit. So I was like, go get the doctor, bring her in. At this time, I didn't call my clinic where I go receive my care. Call my patient advocate, who goes out and educates certain facilities on the different laws surrounding HIV, how to treat people in the event of you have to encounter someone living with HIV. Give just the whole spiel. And they have now changed some policies. Also, I filed a civil rights discrimination lawsuit located on the east side of Detroit. So one sits here, and the one that discriminated against me sits here, and the other one that accepted me is like adjacent and on the other side.
Well, the two that are out here now don't have HIV.
Okay.
I was medically compliant. I didn't transmit it. My 3-year-old that's at home right now, I was able to breastfeed him. I was not transmittable. It's a different experience.
Absolutely. Were you told by the doctors that you could or could not? Like, were you getting varying opinions?
With my son, the first one I had after finding out I had HIV, I was told, no, you can't do that. You're definitely not equipped for that.
To breastfeed.
To breastfeed. They had him on medications every 8 hours. He had to take a med. And it was just so, I felt bad. With the second one, with my status, it was so easy. They said, you can breastfeed. You're not transmittable. As long as you're medically compliant, and babies always have to take HIV medication when you're HIV positive and you give birth. Yes. Okay. So still, I was medically compliant. I was untransmittable. My son couldn't get HIV from me. So I was able to breastfeed, and that was a whole new experience. Yeah. I was excited. I was like,
I see it in your face.
You know, and
HIV is not a crime. And then I couldn't breastfeed, which I could actually, but I couldn't. So I want to say, in my opinion, we always could. There are other places, other spaces outside of the United States that women living with HIV breastfeed successfully with 0 to no transmission rate from mother to child. But here we couldn't. Like, if we said that we want to, there has been women that were prosecuted and charged with child abuse because they fed their child from their bosom. But I am also U equals U, so.
What is that, Mia?
I am undetectable. So a SERO discordant couple is where, like me and Mr. Reed, where I am living with HIV and Mr. Reed is not living with HIV, and we are happily ever after together as one. Yeah. I was closeted even though I'm not gay. That is what's in the closet, because I come from a very ultra, extremely petty, toxic family background.
You want me to keep on it?
Yes. I kept it a secret from them as long as I could, but once I started actually speaking and strongly advocating, I was like, well, you kind of gotta have to have this conversation with them. So on World AIDS Day 2 years ago, I kind of came out of the closet, so to speak, and I've hit the ground running. So I had the conversation with my family, and everybody took it well, but my brother, and we don't talk no more, so it didn't go so well, and it has not went so well ever since. And I expected to face adversity. I just didn't expect it to be so close.
Yeah. Why weren't you at any risk tonight?
Because I cannot transmit the virus because it's so low in my blood.
And did that person know that?
No.
Okay, so they were uneducated about U equals U.
Right. But I think the new law is confusing, and it reduces people to the viral loads, and there's more to it than just being undetectable.
Absolutely. Can you explain that a little bit for the audience?
Well, I mean, like a viral underclass, because we're undetectable, we have a affirmative defense against someone accusing us of non-disclosure. But if someone doesn't have undetectable viral, that doesn't necessarily presume that they're trying to do bad intent and give somebody the virus, I guess.
Absolutely. So do you think that maybe instead of there being a criminal law on the books for HIV, maybe it should be like a health concern instead?
Right. It should be dealt with public health.
It's not a crime. It's just an illness. I mean, cancer is not a crime, and diabetes, which I also have, is not a crime. I guess they want to criminalize it because there is some level where you could transmit that. But there are other STIs that you transmit. They're not a crime. People get them from other people. They don't get them from toilet seats. So, but you won't get arrested if you give somebody gonorrhea. There's no crime. Well, it's a crime of consciousness, but it's not a crime by the legal system.
No, this ain't it. And for them to do that, yeah, it's shattered. It hurt, and that's something that I have to live with. And they need to understand that, like, this is devastating for folks. First of all, people are still ending their lives because of the status, because they're not educated. They're not getting the education they need. So to be told, oh, we don't take your type of high risk, which really isn't even a high risk if you take your medicine every day. I have my baby the same way everybody else has their children. So it's not a high risk. And then for them to say, oh, you can't breastfeed your children, your baby. Why? What is the rate of transmission? We honestly you have a better chance getting hit by a car than me transferring the virus to my child. Make sure that these providers and these caseworkers and everybody, the people that are out here working with people that are living with HIV, make sure that these folks are continuing education, continuing to know what the latest research is, what the latest regulations, what the latest guidelines is, so stigma can stop with that. Make sure that these folks are doing that. And then the other way to stop that is hire these people that are living with HIV, put them here where they need to be, because that's usually what happens. A person that is living with HIV, they may not be taking care of themselves. They get that one person that is living and they like, oh, you need to get your ish together. You need to do, then that's when everything starts to get better. That's when people start really opening their eyes and doing. And to see that this is what HIV looks like. It doesn't have to look like 1987, 1992. It can look like this, 2025, married, 3 children, working abundantly. It can look like that.
Has that ever happened to you?
Well, I wasn't locked up because of HIV.
Right.
But I was locked up, and HIV played a part in how I was treated while I was locked up. So I was sent to the Macomb County Jail. Right now I'm 73, so at that time I was 63. I was undetectable, and I was on that one pill. At first, they refused to get my medication. I had to write up a kite. That's where you write up a complaint and you get it sent to wherever it goes to. But once I got an attorney, then my attorney was able to follow up on that complaint that I made. And I was able to get my medication, but it had been a week. They gave me medication for high blood pressure. They gave me medication for diabetes. And they gave me medication for my depression. But somehow they couldn't give me this medication for the HIV for a week until I had a lawyer intervene. And then to make matters worse, I began to experience what I would call stigma, because somehow my diagnosis became public knowledge, although that's not really the public.
Exactly.
But it was the public as I knew it. So certain individuals, they didn't want to play cards with me. They didn't want to touch those cards. They didn't want to play chess with me. They didn't want to touch those chess pieces.
Wow.
So that was traumatic. I'm under care of a psychiatrist for depression. And I also see a therapist. That's only part of what made this grow in me. Part of it was my initial diagnosis. So I'm trying to deal with that, and then that situation was like piling on.